The U.S. and China's top diplomats hold talks in Beijing to cool tensions, but both sides are unmoved on Taiwan.
We'll find out why Juneteenth, an American holiday, is being celebrated here in Taiwan.
I'm at one of Taipei's largest tech stores where Chinese telecom giant Huawei is closing one of their last shops in the country.
Plus, hitting a high note in the latest efforts to revitalize Taiwan's less spoken official language. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has met with Chinese leader Xi Jinping and other senior officials on a trip to Beijing. The world's two biggest economies are trying to cool tensions over issues including Taiwan. Louise Watt has more.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Beijing for a landmark meeting with top officials. Without fanfare or pageantry, no welcoming delegation, no red carpet, just a distinct red line for him to cross. It summed up the tepid expectations for any breakthrough in U.S.-China relations, simmering with tensions over trade, tech, and Taiwan. It's the first time in 5 years that a U.S. Secretary of State comes to visit, and got to meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping as well. China's top diplomat Wang said the root cause of tensions between the two countries is the U.S.'s misconception of China.
I think that's very typical Chinese diplomat language. That's the principle, that's the position, they never change. And also, Blinken invited Qin to Washington to visit, official visit. So I think the atmosphere is good compared with your previous meeting.
Blinken had a 7.5-hour meeting with Chinese Foreign Minister Qin. The US called it candid and constructive. China said it was committed to building a stable, predictable and constructive relationship. But it said Taiwan, which it claims as part of its territory, was one of its red lines. The democratic island nation counts the US as a key ally. After the meeting, the Chinese foreign minister was quoted in state media as saying, "The Taiwan question is the core of China's core interests, the most consequential issue and the most pronounced risk in the China-US relationship." Concerns have grown in recent years that China and the United States might clash over Taiwan, which would have deep global consequences. Taiwan is the leading manufacturer of advanced chips, which are used in everything from fighter jets to computers. Even without a war, worsening ties between Beijing and Washington could affect world markets, trade and supply chains. As Blinken's 2-day trip comes to an end, having both sides agree to at least try to stop the downward spiral in their relations may be considered the best possible outcome. Alex Chen and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
One of Taiwan's top defense think tanks will take part in tabletop war games in Tokyo next month. They'll be joined by Japanese and American counterparts. This will be the first time the Institute for National Defense and Security Research will take part in the war games, which will simulate a war with China. The Japan Forum for Strategic Studies is acting as host and organizer, but the Taiwanese think tank told TaiwanPlus they were not sure which institute from the U.S. will be participating in the exercise. This comes as Taiwan is preparing to conduct its largest ever live-fire military drills, the Hanguang exercises, at the end of July. Juneteenth is an American holiday commemorating the emancipation of enslaved people. So why is the holiday being celebrated in Taiwan? Bing Wong finds out.
A feast for Juneteenth. Hundreds gather in this Taipei restaurant to mark the anniversary of the end of slavery in the United States. While Juneteenth is an American holiday, it's the second year in a row that June 19th is commemorated here in Taiwan.
We're celebrating Juneteenth today because it's a celebration of freedom. We are here to talk about our experiences as Black people and to remember our history, what it took for us to get the freedoms that we have today.
Though the emancipation of enslaved peoples was proclaimed 2 years earlier, it was only on June 19, 1865, that generals arrived in Galveston, Texas, with the news effectively ending the slavery of African Americans in the U.S. and leading to what is now known as Juneteenth, or Freedom Day. There are around 2,000 people of African descent here in Taiwan. Many of them are from America, where they face discrimination in their home country and are subjected to racism here in Taiwan as well. People hope that this gathering will help raise awareness among the Taiwanese people of the issues they face. The event was jam-packed with performances such as singing, dancing, and even spoken word.
So looking for other Black students to make friends with, so an event like this really, makes me feel like a sense of home and belonging.
It hasn't been easy for African Americans or Black people to settle in Taiwan, where they have also faced discrimination.
Sometimes I get some weird stares and I have no idea why they're staring. I just tell myself like, oh, they must think I'm pretty. Sometimes I get people touching my hair, and that can be a little frustrating because that is my personal space.
But there was a mixed crowd at the Juneteenth event, with many Taiwanese in attendance, looking to build a sense of community.
We each do our own little bit to help commemorate and remember and learn and try to apply the collective wisdom, the collective feelings that we share and learn in this event, and pay it forward.
3, 2, 1, head up. Exhale, 8, 7.
Part of paying it forward, the event also conducted a collective breathing exercise, where participants were reminded that regardless of race or nationality, they formed a community, and freedom is a universal human right. Wang and Wong for TaiwanPlus.
A surprising development in Taiwan's presidential race. Ko Wen-je, candidate for the Taiwan People's Party, usually considered the third force in a two-party system, has taken the lead in a recent poll. Once again, Wang has the details.
Just under 7 months to go until Taiwan's presidential elections, and campaigning has begun heating up. But there's been an unexpected twist. According to a recent poll, Ko Wen-je, candidate for the Taiwan's People's Party, is now the presidential frontrunner. The poll from local media outlet TVBS found that 33% of people surveyed supported the former Taipei city mayor in his run for the presidency. The findings show Vice President Lai Ching-te, the candidate for the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, coming in second with 30%, while Huawei of the main opposition Kuomintang, or KMT, is trailing at 23%. The Taiwan People's Party is usually considered a third-force party. It was only formed in 2019 and says it provides middle ground between the two main political rivals. On the campaign trail, Ko has been actively engaging in grassroots communities and participating in charity badminton matches. He says strengthening Taiwan's healthcare system is one of his top priorities. The DPP's Lai has been leading in other recent polls, but he's acknowledged his waning support in southern Taiwan and that a series of recent sexual abuse scandals have damaged his party's image.
民进党目前的确是比较逆风啦，不过我们严肃面对，采取高标准来处理每一个事件。我们希望能够重新得到社会的谅解，以及得到社会的支持。
Meanwhile, the KMT's Ho has continued to focus his attacks on the ruling party. He says the DPP has not taken proper care of the country's public sector workers or its military personnel.
民进党在执政的过程当中，利用媒体铺天盖地的说了一句话：“军公教都是米虫，只要我当选总统，让他拨乱反正。”
7 months is a long time in the presidential campaign, and a lot of things can change between now and January. But the Taiwan People's Party's uptick in support will come as a surprise to many, especially those who assumed this would be a two-party race. Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Police in the southern city of Tainan have busted a suspected employment scam ring. In a raid Saturday, they arrested 17 people who allegedly offered fake jobs as investors. 3 job seekers who fell for the scheme were told they'd have to work as drivers for the group instead. When the job seekers refused, police say the suspects took them hostage, beat them, and demanded ransoms from their families. This is the latest in a growing trend of job scams across Taiwan. According to the Criminal Investigation Bureau, the number of employment fraud cases grew 61% from 2021 to 2022, with more than 300 additional cases. To find out more about scammers in Taiwan and what's being done to combat them, John Van Triest spoke with Professor Deng Huangfa of Taiwan's Central Police University.
Some government statistics show that the problem of job scams in Taiwan has grown, especially over the past year or so. Why do you think that is?
本来是要到东南亚去求职的，因为我们的警察啦，用各种方法在港口啊，在机场啊去防堵，所以我反而在我们各大都市里面的大楼里面呢，租个房间呢，因为现在少子化了嘛，租个房间很容易就隐匿在里面，所以而且人与人之间的这种关系啊，也越来越淡薄。
How does Taiwan struggle to contain job scams compare with its neighbors in Asia or other countries around the world?
2012年到2021年，这个来做一个比较，其实我们的诈欺犯罪比日本还要来得低，台湾的诈欺犯罪竟然比美国还要来低，但是比英国、比瑞典低很多。但是其他犯罪，像杀人犯罪啊，总体的犯罪都是下降的。但是，毒品犯罪也下降，但是我们的诈欺犯罪却是有稍微上升的。
What sorts of laws are on the books to tackle scammers in Taiwan? And should lawmakers maybe consider toughening the penalties?
那现在是1年以上，7年以下。但是我们跟中国大陆、跟韩国、跟日本比较起来，的确还是比较偏，刑度比较偏低一点。在我们当代的古典学派里面强调这部分，一个刑罚要让它发挥它的吓阻效果，必须要靠3个条件：第一个严厉性，第二个迅速性，第3个我是觉得是最重要的，就确定性 （certainty）。确定性，严厉性是其中一个要件，但不是唯一。
And that was TaiwanPlus reporter John Van Triest speaking to Professor Deng Huangfa of Taiwan's Central Police University. Chinese tech giant Huawei has closed one of its last retail stores in Taiwan. The company is best known for its smartphones, but because of its ties with China's government, it's had a complicated time navigating its overseas markets. Joyce Zeng reports.
Closing time for good. Chinese telecom giant Huawei Technologies has shut down its last Taipei store, leaving just one outlet in the entire country. The company's distributor in Taiwan, Huawei Tech, said that's because Huawei is switching up its marketing strategy. Huawei was once one of the world's largest smartphone makers, but it's been forced to restructure after several countries, including Taiwan, the US, Japan, and a handful of EU nations, banned it over fears its tech could be used by Beijing for spying. Taipei-based tech industry expert Marco Mezger says that's why Huawei shed its original brand.
This really was a drawback for them, in terms of global expansion for the smartphone. Huawei had basically to sell off their smartphone business for 5G to the brand called Honor.
But this change in focus has seen a similar fate. In Taiwan, local wireless carriers and government systems are blocked from using network equipment from Huawei and other Chinese companies like ZTE. Huawei's 5G products are also banned by the US, the UK, and Australia. Just days ago, the European Union urged more members to join the 10 that have already limited both Huawei and ZTE, citing risks to collective security. This would be a major blow for the company, considering its market share was higher in Berlin than in Beijing, where it faces stiff competition from rivals. China has opposed the EU's stance, saying the bans have no legal basis and would violate free market principles.
欧盟委员会口口声声说华为、中兴等中国通讯企业存在安全风险， 却拿不出任何证据，这是典型的有罪推定。
Despite mounting restrictions, Huawei has largely stayed flexible, adapting its business model each time new limits are introduced. It reworked circuit boards when Washington blocked it from advanced chips, and it's now developing its own operating system after Google took away its Android license.
From a business perspective, the strategy, what they are doing, I think it's a good strategy that they try to build up their own software, the operating system. But starting this ecosystem from scratch, is difficult.
Though this flagship has just had its last day of business, Huawei's distributor says the sales in the country are actually doing well. Sales of laptops, wireless earphones, and tablets all went up last year. But only time will tell how scaling back its operations in the country will fit into Huawei's larger plans. Alex Chen and Joyce Sun for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, soy sauce goes green. Not literally, with the help of solar power. Stay tuned.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Australia is set to hold a landmark referendum on Indigenous rights. The country's Senate passed a bill for a public vote on whether to change the constitution to recognize its Indigenous population. That would establish a committee to advise Parliament on issues affecting those groups. Indigenous people make up 3.2% of Australia's 26 million population. They were denied full voting rights until the 1960s.
It is a very simple request, President, to be recognised in the Australian Constitution. And yes, there are many schools of thought in terms of that Constitution, but in terms of the symbolic nature of being able to be included in that Constitution means a great deal to many First Nations people.
Climate change is threatening traditional Taiwanese culture. That's according to a report by Greenpeace. It says flooding is now more common during the plum rain season, putting the architecture at risk and affecting the economy of central Taiwan's traditional old towns. But in mountainous Alishan, indigenous Zhou people aren't getting enough rainfall, and warmer winters are making it harder to grow plants that are central to their culture. The report also adds that extreme heat is taking a toll on the annual Mazu pilgrimage. Nearly 1 million people join the 300-kilometer walk, which takes place in spring. Participants say the rising temperatures heighten the risk of heat stroke and could make the 9-day tradition too dangerous to continue.
以前听我进家那么久，我有点习惯说妈祖下雨的时候会下雨，这张几率很高啊，但是连续4年都没有。
Taiwan's biggest soy sauce factory is going green. Now we're not talking about the color of the product. Sandy Chi looks at how an 80-year-old company is now powered by solar.
Crushed black soybeans, salt, and enzymes. This is how you make soy sauce, an essential ingredient in countless dishes. This is Taiwan's biggest soy sauce factory, located in Pingtung in the country's south. It produces 150,000 liters every day and accounts for almost a third of the local market. The 80-year-old factory prides itself on being GMO-free.
现在就是推有机酱油，还有做这个洁净商标。
While it's been around for decades, the factory is keeping up with the times. It's going green, covering the entire roof with solar panels. This makes it Taiwan's first solar-powered fermentation plant.
企业责任嘛，而且台湾也缺电，可以搭建的地方，我们就尽量的去搭建。
With the power of the sun, the company hopes to continue producing natural food products while supporting Taiwan's renewable energy industry. Isampan and Tanichi for TaiwanPlus.
Central Taiwan's Nantou city has decided to downsize its government as its population is declining rapidly. It will be closing some offices and shrinking staff, but says all employees will be taken care of. The number of Nantou residents has dipped below 100,000 for 3 years straight, with only 420 babies born there last year. To encourage people to have more kids, the city is increasing its childbirth subsidies to almost $1,000. But residents think that's not enough to cover rising childcare and education costs. A wedding for one couple takes months to plan, but imagine planning a wedding for 100 couples. This was the reality for a mass ceremony organized by the new Taipei city government. Harrell Hughes reports.
The wedding bells rang for not one, not two, but 100 newlywed couples. They married on Sunday in New Taipei City in a mass ceremony with the theme, East meets West Classic Elegance. It was an opportunity for couples to make their love official. The city's mayor and presidential candidate, Ho Yoi, and his deputy acted as a witness and officiant for the ceremony.
离不到1公里左右，我们就有邻家花园。所以它有传统到现在，也就是代表各位从现在到未来可以携手相伴。
Unusual as it is, it's even more of a unique event in Taiwan, a country where marriage and birth rates are some of the lowest in the world. In 2022, approximately 5 couples per 1,000 people tied the knot.
现在少子化希望幸福嘟嘟好这个嘟嘟不是只有2个。
Couples congratulated each other and shared the stories of their journey to the altar.
小宝贝一起来参加这个婚礼，那蛮开心的。那也祝福就是现场的新人都可以好运发生。
And to close the event, wedding gifts were giving out along with a raffle for appliances for the newlyweds as they prepared to set off on their married life together. Howard Zhang and Harrell Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
A modern Hakka music performance took place at Taipei Music Center over the weekend. It was the latest effort by a Taiwanese television station to help draw attention to the language. Yu Wang has more.
What you're hearing is the language of the Hakka people, set to modern music. Hakka band Zishen and Sto Chen created the music with the help of artificial intelligence to showcase and raise awareness of their mother tongue. They were joined by 17 other performers, most of whom are also Hakka, at Taipei Music Center over the weekend. The event was a celebration of the 20th anniversary of the Hakka TV ethnic television station, which was first set up to promote the struggling language.
我觉得客语其实随着时间其实是越来越消失，所以我们就在想说，其实 认识母语或是重新接触母语，可以透过各种不同的方式，音乐就是其中一种。
There are more than 4.5 million Hakka people in Taiwan, but only 38% of them speak the language fluently. That's largely because of political oppression from the 1940s to the late 1980s. At the time, the authorities deemed speaking Hakka, Taiwanese Hokkien, or any other indigenous language as out of line with the national identity set up by the authoritarian government. But in today's free and open society, both older and younger singers are working together, hoping to bridge the linguistic gap between generations.
资深的带新的，花甲带少年一代一代，希望把这个好听的客家歌曲继续传承下去，而且鼓励年轻的客家人可以起来创作，唱自己的母语，这样。
Luo Shifeng's Semue Anjiang is a Hakka pop song from 2 decades ago. Semue Anjiang means girl, you're so beautiful. For a lot of people, it's the first song that comes to mind when they think of Hakka music. But the Hakka music scene has changed dramatically in recent years. It's no longer just one genre. Something that emerging Hakka hip-hop artist Yapi wants to show with his reimagining of Luo's classic.
我就选择用了现在我擅长的音乐风格 drill， 然后结合 Jersey 变成一个 Jersey drill 的感觉，然后在歌词的部分做了一个 Samuel 安讲的延伸，就是现代人怎么去追女孩子。
The event brought together singers of Hakka, Taiwanese Minnan, and Puyuma origins, all ethnic groups which have faced difficulties in preserving their cultures and languages. Hakka music pioneer Xie Yuwei sang with two other acclaimed singers, Xie Mingyou, who is best known for his Taiwanese Hokkien songs, and Indigenous Puyuma singer Sambui. The song they performed, Songs of Jolly Gathering, speaks of how different ethnic groups can come together in Taiwan and coexist in harmony. The mix of cultures was also a theme of the show. This song by Wang was written in both Hakka and Bahasa Indonesia, dedicated to her ethnic roots in both Indonesia and Taiwan.
你听到这个歌很好听，这个音乐很好听，你有可能想要学习怎么唱它。当你学习怎么唱它的时候，你就会学到这个语言。
There is still a lot of work to do to promote the Hakka language and culture in mainstream media. But the crowds at this weekend's event showed that change could soon be on the horizon. Kamashi and Eugene Huang for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images of fireworks in Seoul, South Korea to celebrate the 10th anniversary of K-pop sensation BTS. Now that's what I call dynamite, smooth like butter. I'm Leslie Liao, take care and see you next time.